Joe Lamberti, thank you so much for being here at the LMC Media Studio on the Ave for the Sound Shore Family Guide. Joe's here is the inventor, creator of OCRA. And tell us more about that, please.
Sure. First, I just want to say thank you to LMC Media.
Of course.
For those who don't know, it's such an amazing, wonderful community resource. So it's such a pleasure to be here and just a wonderful studio.
Thank you.
So as you mentioned, OCRA, which stands for Original Civic Research and Action.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 4-year program at Mamaroneck High School.
Mm-hmm.
It is the newest of the 4-year programs. It was launched in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So this program is open to any freshman.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be civically minded. You really just have to be one thing, and that's curious, and that's it. So as I mentioned, it's a 4-year program. So the first year, freshmen come before school once a week. And then during the second year, it gets embedded into their schedule. And the schedule is pretty flexible. There's a lot of, the sophomore year can be a little tricky in terms of scheduling. So we offer different points during the day in which you can take OCRA. And then it stays in your schedule your junior and senior year. Again, it's treated like an elective. So, there is a grade and credit for that. But again, it's not required. But again, open to any student as long as they're simply curious. So the first year is really about understanding the community. So it's introducing students to sort of what is community, what does it mean to be a member of community, what does it mean to be a citizen, what are the responsibilities and roles of a citizen. And then we learn a little bit about the community, as I mentioned, so a little bit of the history, a little bit about how the town has changed over time. We do look at sort of the budgetary process, local government, things of that nature. And then we kind of expand it out into looking at some larger data to, again, sort of tell the story of how the community has changed over time and what that might mean in terms of future challenges.
Do you focus on Larchmont and Mamaroneck only?
So it exclusively focuses in on the town of Mamaroneck, which of course has 3 municipalities, which makes makes teaching about the town challenging. Even adults are sometimes not sure, like, which police department is my police department, who picks up my garbage.
Yeah,
it's confusing.
That's another segment.
Yeah.
So you do focus on town of Mamaroneck. Okay. And so go on. So you introduce all of these children to lots of social, political, environmental, all kinds of dynamics. They go out to the community, they interview people, they kind of get a sense for what they feel is a need, is missing, and then they come up with an idea.
Yeah, and so it's really about, again, giving them the tools, right? Giving them the skills, giving them that mindset. We talk about sort of, the civic entrepreneur mindset, that ability to look out across the landscape and through research, and I mean that in all different forms, come to understand sort of what is in front of you, what are the needs and challenges, and then going as deep as possible. And that means also then communicating out with the community itself, right? Who are the community stakeholders that I could learn through about this particular need? And then it's about sort of, going through the problem definition process. And in that process is where they also, as I mentioned, they get connected with community members who then become their community mentors in the future. And so I think that's something that's a really special component of the program, is bridging that gap between the school and the community, bridging that, or connecting, I should say, that youthful passion with that expertise and wisdom that exists in our community. And we have so much of this amazing wisdom and expertise in the community. And this is really a chance to sort of leverage that opportunity. And so as those students are, feeding that curiosity, they themselves determine, like, what is that need or issue that we want to focus on.
Like, give us an example.
Sure. So one example, I have 2 seniors right now. They became very interested in local history. And then part of that's because we teach a little bit of local history within OCRA at the beginning, but they wanted to really sort of go deep. And they spent really their second half of their sophomore year into their junior and senior years going very deep into Mamaroneck history, particularly the history around slavery, which is sort of a lesser-known part of the history here. Students often think of slavery, and they think of the South, they think of the Civil War, and then that's about all they think at that point. And they wanted to kind of really bring that story to life. And so what they did, working with local historians that became their community mentors, is to develop an historic walking trail, which is now digital, and that will have corresponding signs that will get posted up in the late spring, early summer, at all the various historical sites, and people can scan that, and then they can get this backstory, which is pretty exciting. And that project involved, as I mentioned, working with local historians, working with primary resources, working with the different municipalities where those sites are located. And so it really helps students develop a certain unique skill set that you really otherwise couldn't if you were in the classroom, because it's really authentic forms of learning, and it's about public production. We're not in the classroom producing something for the student and myself. They're producing something for the community, right? It's something that they see as improving the community. So that's, I think, one example.
There are so many examples you can give because everybody that goes through your program, is it all paired, by the way? Are they all in groups, or are there some individual?
It's all group-based.
Okay, it's all group-based.
Totally. It's student-centered, group-based, project-based work.
Right. Well, again, there's so many projects and so many creative ideas out there, and they will all have to prove it in some way or another by the end of their senior year. I'm sure you have some doozies as well as a lot of success stories. And once they finish it, is it something that they take on to college? Is it something that has legs? Do they pass it off to like a younger group? I mean, what happens after that?
So lots of things happen. So in some cases, maybe that group of seniors have worked on one piece of this need, and there are other pieces that can be worked on, and younger students, will hear about these projects. Sometimes those seniors will present to them, and they're like, hey, we'd like to work on this as well. And so they pick up another thread of that. For some projects, there's like a natural end to it. They've completed in every way possible what they set out to do. In some other cases, as much as they tried to problem solve around this and pivot where they needed to pivot, it just simply didn't work out. I know people don't necessarily like to use the word failure, but these are public works, and inevitably not everything's going to work out the way you hoped, as much as you try. But the skills they develop from that and sort of the creative confidence that comes from working on a difficult problem in and itself is the point, right? Because if we're looking to have young people continue to be civically engaged in the future, knowing how to sort of come at a complex problem with a group, I think is such an important thing.
It really is.
It really is. And you mentioned sort of college. I think that's an important thing.
It is, yeah.
So one thing I think that I've noticed, which was not my original intent, is this is something that really differentiates these students compared to other students at other high schools, because there is no OCRA in the surrounding high schools. When students are applying to school and they're writing about what they've done, it really distinguishes them from other students who are applying to the very same schools. I'm thinking of one group of students that are now juniors in college, and they had successfully moved an issue onto the ballot that voters were able to actually vote on.
Wow.
That was something I know really set them apart when they were applying to schools. One of those students ended up at the University of Michigan. He happened to join a club, and that club wanted to do a ballot measure in Ann Arbor. And someone said, well, how do you do that? And he was like, wait a second, I've done that. Right? And so it really is such a valuable mindset, such a valuable sort of skill set that they carry with them into college, as well as distinguish them on their way to college. So I think that's another beautiful thing that, again, I didn't anticipate, but it's been just, again, a positive sort of attribute of the program itself.
It is. I mean, I know a lot of kids who went through OCRA, and not only them, but their parents. I mean, they make a lot of us proud. Something that, like you said, distinguishes our kids that go to Mamaroneck High School compared to a lot of other kids out there. And kudos to you for running an amazing, amazing program, all the hours and energy and everything that you put into it. So thank you so much for doing what you do. Continue doing it. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.